Hey guys, the other day I was out walking with my personal dogs, and I was taking them for a walk on a 3-mile trail that I have walked many times over the last 4.5 decades actually. We saw deer, we saw a squirrel. Unfortunately, we didn't see nor even heard any quail. I even tried the quail recall call that I used to use many years ago. But the one thing that I did see a good many of were rabbits. And I kind of took notice as I started looking around. For a long time, the habitat, there was no longer a conducive habitat to support small game. But over the last 5 years, 6 years, things have changed with this particular property that I was on, that now I'm seeing signs of small game coming back, but it's mostly rabbits. I don't know if the quail will ever come back, and some of that has to do with other factors. But yeah, the habitat was conducive. That was great. Let me share a little bit more with you in conducive habitat. Years ago, this area was loaded with small game, primarily quail and rabbits. They were very abundant in numbers, but then the numbers started to diminish and they all but disappeared. Why is that? Well, the environment changed. The habitat was no longer conducive. Weeds along the fence rows were cut down. Fields were constantly plowed and sprayed with the herbicides. Monocultural farming and pine plantations took away the variety of cover and food small game needed. Farmers used to let their fields rest in the 7th year. They'd even leave hedgerows thick. There was a balance of food, shelter, and water. And wildlife flourished. But when that was all stripped away, the rabbits and the quail didn't stand a chance. It wasn't about effort. It was about the environment. It was about the habitat. And as I stood there watching those rabbits, I couldn't help but think, well, what about us? If godly men aren't growing, if families aren't thriving, if churches aren't producing disciples, maybe it's not just a matter of trying harder, maybe it's the habitat. In a church, are we creating a climate that fosters spiritual growth? Or are we just running programs? Pastors, are you equipping the men in your congregation to lead, to serve, to use their gifts? Men, are you building a home, a schedule, and habits that encourage spiritual growth? Because the truth is, nothing flourishes where the environment doesn't sustain life. The habitat has to be conducive for you to be able to grow in the Lord and to grow in this life. I want to read this scripture to you. Jesus said in John 15:5, I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him will bear much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. If the soil in your life isn't connected to him, being Jesus Christ, no matter how much effort you put in, it will not produce any kind of fruit. So here's the challenge. I want you to look at the habitat in your life, in your home, in your church, in your personal walk with Jesus. Does it encourage growth, or does your walk choke it out? Because just like those rabbits, life flourishes where the conditions are right, and nothing grows in the wrong kind of habitat. Thank you for watching. I'm Todd Harvey, The Disciplined Way.